The Trump administration, facing mounting tensions in the Western Hemisphere, has taken a bold and unmistakable step in its ongoing standoff with Venezuela. By sending a powerful message directly to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, the U.S. is making it clear that the status quo is no longer acceptable. In a dramatic and highly visible move, B-52 bombers, iconic symbols of American air power, flew in international airspace just off Venezuela's coast. Such flights are far from routine and are meant to capture the world's attention. This calculated show of force is not just a display of military hardware, it's a deliberate signal of the seriousness and determination behind American military resolve. The presence of these strategic bombers sends a message that the U.S. is prepared to escalate if necessary. The flights are part of a broader, multi-pronged strategy to pressure Maduro's government. Alongside economic sanctions and diplomatic isolation, the U.S. is now making clear that it is willing to use its military might to achieve its goals in the region. Deploying B-52s so close to Venezuelan territory is a direct and unmistakable warning. It signals that the time for a peaceful transition is running out and that the window for negotiation is rapidly closing. The intent behind this maneuver is clear: to intimidate Maduro's leadership, making them question their ability to withstand the possibility of U.S. intervention. It's a psychological tactic designed to shake the confidence of those in power. For months, the administration has relied on economic sanctions and diplomatic isolation to squeeze the Maduro regime. Now, with military intimidation front and center, the stakes have been raised significantly. The bomber flights serve as a stark reminder to all parties involved that military options remain firmly on the table. The U.S. is signaling that it has not ruled out the use of force if diplomatic efforts fail. This maneuver is not just about military might, it's also about psychological pressure. The flights are meant to be seen and felt by the Venezuelan government, its people, and the international community, amplifying the sense of urgency. The sight of these bombers overhead is designed to sow doubt among Maduro's supporters, making them question their loyalty, while at the same time reassuring the opposition that the U.S. stands behind their cause. President Trump's decision to authorize this show of force underscores his administration's policy of maximum pressure. By keeping the threat of military action visible, the U.S. is using every tool at its disposal to influence the outcome in Venezuela and demonstrate its commitment to restoring democracy in the region. The recent B-52 flights over the Caribbean are just the most visible sign of a much larger and rapidly escalating U.S. military buildup in the region. These iconic bombers, with their unmistakable silhouettes, signal a show of force that goes far beyond routine patrols. Behind the scenes, the U.S. has quietly positioned around 10,000 troops near Venezuela's borders, supported by a formidable array of advanced military hardware. Armored vehicles, mobile artillery, and cutting-edge technology are all in place, ready for any contingency. At sea, Navy destroyers and combat ships maintain a constant watch, patrolling strategic waters. Overhead, fighter jets and surveillance aircraft dominate the skies, conducting regular sorties and gathering critical intelligence. This unprecedented concentration of power brings together all branches of the U.S. military: Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, working in close coordination. Joint exercises and real-time command centers ensure seamless cooperation and rapid decision-making. The Navy maintains a continuous maritime presence, while the Air Force provides round-the-clock aerial patrols and reconnaissance missions, monitoring every movement in the region. Adding a stealthy and powerful dimension, a nuclear-powered submarine reportedly operates in the area, capable of launching precision strikes or gathering intelligence undetected beneath the waves. The objective is clear: apply overwhelming and sustained pressure on Maduro's regime, signaling that the U.S. is prepared to escalate if necessary. This show of force is not just for appearances. It's a credible, tangible threat that backs up ongoing diplomatic negotiations and economic sanctions, giving U.S. policymakers leverage at the negotiating table. U.S. forces remain on high alert, conducting rapid deployment drills and maintaining constant surveillance. Command centers monitor live feeds, ready to respond instantly to any escalation or crisis. The message to the world is unmistakable: the U.S. military stands ready to act decisively if political and diplomatic efforts fail, ensuring that every option remains on the table. Officially, the White House claims this military deployment targets drug trafficking. The operation is framed as a counter-narcotics mission, with Trump accusing Maduro's government of cartel ties. However, experts note that most drugs enter the U.S. through other routes, not the Caribbean. Critics argue the scale of the military presence far exceeds what's needed for drug interdiction. Many believe the counter-narcotics mission is a pretext for regime change. By calling it law enforcement, the administration sidesteps the need for congressional approval for military action. This framing blurs the line between police action and war, letting the U.S. escalate pressure on Maduro under a legal gray area. Venezuela's government has condemned the U.S. military maneuvers as blatant aggression and a threat to sovereignty. Maduro denounces the American presence as a prelude to invasion, accusing Washington of imperialism and seeking control of Venezuela's oil. The standoff has replaced diplomacy with hostile posturing and a war of words. State media frames the crisis as a patriotic defense, rallying support and justifying crackdowns on dissent. The confrontation deepens Venezuela's political and humanitarian crisis, with the threat of intervention looming over daily life. As U.S. forces remain nearby, the risk of a flashpoint is critically high. Both sides are entrenched, creating a tense and unpredictable standoff with no clear resolution. The Trump administration's military actions near Venezuela have sparked legal concerns, and the U.S. lawmakers argue that authorizing military force may constitute acts of war, which require congressional approval. The White House insists it doesn't need Congress's consent, framing the mission as a law enforcement action against criminals, not a sovereign state. This has ignited debate over presidential power to use force without oversight. Critics warn this could set a precedent for future presidents to bypass Congress under the guise of law enforcement. The controversy adds complexity to the Venezuela crisis as the administration faces pressure from both abroad and at home. U.S. military involvement has escalated from surveillance to direct action. American forces have conducted airstrikes on boats allegedly trafficking drugs from Venezuela, marking a shift to active combat. Special operations units, including Navy SEALs and Green Berets, have held high-profile training exercises near Venezuela. These drills signal that the U.S. is preparing for possible intervention, not just posturing. Each action, bomber flights, special forces drills, airstrikes, ratchets up pressure on Maduro's regime. The strategy makes defiance too costly, hoping to fracture Maduro's support from within. But every escalation increases the risk of miscalculation and wider conflict. The move from deterrence to combat marks a turning point, making peaceful resolution harder to achieve. Amid mounting regional tension and uncertainty, a key U.S. military leader in the area, Admiral Alvin Holsey, is stepping down from his post. His retirement comes at a critical juncture, raising pressing questions about the continuity of U.S. military strategy and leadership in a region already on edge. Many are now wondering who will fill this crucial role and how the transition might impact ongoing operations and diplomatic efforts. This significant leadership change coincides with the United States intensifying its aggressive pressure campaign against Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. The White House is doubling down on sanctions and diplomatic isolation, hoping to force political change, but the effectiveness of these measures remains hotly debated among experts and policymakers. The deployment of such a large and visible U.S. military force in Latin America is unprecedented in recent years. Critics argue that this show of strength could further destabilize the region, strain long-standing alliances, and provoke unintended consequences, while supporters claim it demonstrates resolve and commitment to regional security. For many Latin American nations, these actions evoke memories of past U.S. interventions, fueling concerns about sovereignty and self-determination. This perception could complicate future diplomatic cooperation and make it harder to build trust with regional partners. The fate of Venezuela and the broader stability of the region now hang in the balance. Ordinary Venezuelans face daily uncertainty, and neighboring countries are bracing for potential spillover effects. The Trump administration's maximum pressure campaign is escalating rapidly, but whether it will achieve its goals or backfire remains to be seen. The stakes are high, and the world is watching closely. The situation on the ground remains fluid and unpredictable, with the ever-present risk of conflict or miscalculation. Military and civilian leaders alike are on high alert, preparing for a range of possible scenarios. The decisions made in the coming weeks and months will not only determine the future of Venezuela, but will also shape U.S. foreign policy and regional dynamics in the Western Hemisphere for years to come. The path forward is uncertain, but its impact will be profound.